Hello and welcome to episode 183 of the Talking Wednesday podcast. James and Jack this week for you on a very abysmal day for Sheffield Wednesday because I've had enough, Jack. I've had enough. Before we do any of that, we've got to do the tradition and say, how has your week been, mate? Before we go into all of that.
For obvious reasons, it's been like a cowpat. But apart from football, it's actually been really productive, and I'm getting a lot of things done. And actually, off camera, you before have given me a lot of advice, saying the last time I was doing all of this, what I'm trying to do, I was wasting a lot of time. Well, I'm doing the polar opposite now, and I'm actually being stupidly productive, like pretty much all the time that I'm not in here. You know, like I'm not wasting all of my time, and I'm actually like. There's a lot of stuff that I'm trying to get done and getting done in a efficient succession, you know? If that's the right word to use there. I had the same thing.
Like, it's very easy. Like I like to take things easy quite a lot, and you can fall into it if you're not.
Yes.
So you kind of have to get on that wavelength of I've got this time. I'm actually going to use it, sort of thing. It's just like it's what I'm looking at doing because my time is freeing up a little bit more. It's the stuff that all I'm going to be planning and what can I do and what can I bring back. There was a lot of Sheffield Wednesday plans, but they kind of go to crap with the current case of where Sheffield Wednesday are at, unfortunately.
Yep.
But
and according to some people on Twitter, blame X, formerly known as Twitter, you can blame absolutely everybody other than the chairman. It's never the chairman's fault to some people. It's so weird that. I mean, it's a real tangent, but it's so weird how, like, everybody for months and months and months are all blaming the chairman and are really behind Danny, and then two bad results and it like flips on his head, and suddenly there's a sea of people everywhere that are saying the opposite now, and it's team selection. Anyway, sorry James, I just cut you off.
I'm just wondering if that's why we're in financial problems sometimes, because actually Chansiri's got an army of Twitter bots or something in Hillsborough somewhere, maybe.
Yeah.
Allegedly. No, that's a joke, by the way.
That's a joke.
Parody.
That is a joke.
Parody.
Not
saying he actually does. Thank you.
No. To our knowledge, he doesn't.
What a mess. But no, yeah. So productive. Anything fun? I know you've got some.
I've got a date on Friday, so that's personal life stuff. I've got a date on Friday, so that's why I won't be on the Twitter this Friday, unfortunately. Because
that's all right. You're never on the Twitter. You've been on it once.
I was the other night, and I wish I wasn't, to be honest, because it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun. But yeah, I've got a project coming out. Some of the biggest YouTubers in the world that cover video game modding have done videos on that project that I'm in. So that's all quite scary, but nice.
I think it's awesome. I honestly think it's going to be great. It's weird because you can talk about the project you're in now, can't you?
Oh yeah, I can say that I'm in it, like Fallout London.
Yeah.
And you know what's even funnier is I'm not breaking NDA by saying this, but I feel like YouTube videos alone will be made out of one of the characters I play. There'll be whole like lore videos about who this person is and why they're doing certain.
It'll be interesting to see if Bethesda
really exciting.
decide to pick it up and take it into the Creation Club at some point. Because the way that would be exciting for you, Jack, is if that happens, it becomes canon.
Yes, and I'm canonically in the Fallout universe in that case.
Yeah. I actually reinstalled Fallout a couple of days ago, and I've been playing there's an Enclave mod that I'm playing through at the minute.
Is it America Rising 2?
Yeah.
I've done the same.
I've just started to play through that.
Yeah.
So it's just so annoying on the Xbox though, because I obviously have PC as well, but I don't really play Fallout on the PC because the mods end up just crashing more than necessary. And Xbox seems to have a good way of not crashing with mods. But there's a 2 gig memory limit, so like you can't have a lot of big mods in at once, and it's very frustrating.
Other than gaming, how's your week been, James?
good. Busy as usual, but just getting some stuff ready.
Water is wet.
Birthday's coming. So's birthday's coming up. So been sorting some stuff out like that. It's we're not. We're obviously seeing family at certain points, but not actually on a birthday sort of thing, because we obviously live somewhere different now. So it's just a case of trying to organise all the plans for that. Bits of work. Yeah, did a charity event last week. That was really, really nice, really fulfilling. That sounds so cliche, doesn't it? But no, it is not. It was one of those just really nice moments that kind of gives you some perspective of the good you can do. That was the day of Watford. So the reason I bring that up is because if I seemed very tired on the stream on the night, it's because I was shattered.
Nice.
But Wednesday played really well in that Watford game as well. So let's do it. Let's get into the Wednesday side of it. The first thing is the Watford game. Me and Jake spoke about it a little bit. I think we did. I don't know when we did the podcast. We did the podcast the day after, transfer deadline day. The Watford game, we played some actually good stuff. It was just that we lacked that clinical finish. Ugbo hitting the post, things like that. And then you get to Huddersfield. Before we do that, transfer deadline day, what were your thoughts on transfer deadline day? If you take it from before where we are now with Huddersfield, if you got to transfer deadline day, we obviously missed out on Maguire, and then we ended up with Pedersen and Poveda. How were you feeling at the end of that transfer deadline day? Because I didn't speak to you.
You know what? I actually felt it was giving a lot of... I got the impression... Now, this is a subjective point, but I got the impression like the people we did sign were the sort of last resort, bottom of the barrel signings because everybody else had already said no. And that's the impression that I've got from the players that we have signed at the end of the window, not at the beginning of the window. And we've known what certain figures at the club have been like in the past with negotiating, whether it's players, staff, anybody. And I just wonder if those same antics have driven players away from us and into the arms of other teams. And that's the impression that I got, really. And I don't think that we got enough players in that we needed to cover the positions that are needed to cover, really. I was quite disappointed, to be honest. How about you, James?
No.
How about you?
Well, we got rid of Byers, which is somebody who I think we said... We haven't really seen the level step up from him, but as a squad player, it's weird, right, actually, because if you put Byers and Smith on the pitch for me, they work best together, and we've brought Smith back into the squad.
Yeah.
So he's not gone out, but he's gone back onto the squad, but actually I always thought he linked up quite well with Byers. The fact that we haven't strengthened in that midfield position. We've actually missed all of our midfield targets. I think Poveda's coming in and is obviously going to be a number 10, so you could technically sort of say, is he going to be that attacking midfield? But he's not like central midfield. We're not going to play him in the centre of midfield. So it's a little bit concerning that we wouldn't strengthen there. For me, our defence has just been shaky, so I was hoping we would actually potentially bring in a centre-back. We probably brought too many centre-backs. No, we didn't. But we brought Bambo in, didn't we? And we brought Bernard in, so you'd think, oh, well, why would we bring another centre-back in January? And it's because they just weren't good enough. And obviously, Iorfa's got some injury issues. I think we're missing Iorfa's pace at the minute, I'm not going to lie. And that's purely because of the mistakes we're making.
Yeah.
The mistakes we're making, you need people to track back and run.
Exactly.
And he could do that.
We haven't got the players to do that, really, I don't think. Huddersfield exploited it. That's how they scored as many as they did, because they exploited that fact that we couldn't track back simply.
It's just the key position was that we needed a striker, and I think Ugbo is going to have too much pressure on him now, and I think it's going to crack. I don't think he's going to. I think he could have been quite a good player to have in the squad and actually get a few goals for us. But now you've put all the pressure on Ugbo.
Exactly. Unless we get a free agent in.
Yeah, unless that does happen. And then you go to Huddersfield and just... Right, I've got family who are Huddersfield fans, and I've said this before on this podcast quite a few times. So I'm going to say this. Huddersfield are woeful, right, this season, and they put 4 past us.
Yep.
Which just shows how bad we were.
Would you like me to read out the stats, James, for the game?
I'm sure you will. Go on.
So, in terms of possession, Huddersfield had 38% possession compared to Sheffield Wednesday's 62%. Huddersfield had an equal amount of shots in total, 12, as Sheffield Wednesday did, but their shots on target were 6 compared to our 3. Huddersfield had 7 corners, while Wednesday had 8, and Huddersfield had 10 fouls, conceded 10 fouls, sorry, whereas Wednesday conceded 18. 18 fouls. Now, to me, the shots in total versus shots on target of 12 to 3 just says it all for me that we don't have anyone near clinical enough up front to put those shots away. And the fact that we had way more possession as well, and they've clearly hit us on the counter and capitalised on that, lack of.
That's what it was. They scored their goals from woeful defending decisions and mistakes, and that has been the story of it. And you can turn to when I see, I'll just say it as it is. Idiotic opinions on social media saying that Danny Rull is responsible for that. He sets us up in a way, right? I actually think he is. He's got to take part of the blame for some of the decisions on positioning and for some of the selection against Huddersfield. But individual mistakes is not on the manager, and that's where we have been conceding. You can't call it a results thing with Danny Rull because when people are making stupid mistakes. Now, we had 62% possession. We dominated the ball. Part of that possession is probably us picking up the ball out of the back of our bloody net in the second half. Right. Because the first half, we were on top.
Yep.
And then the second half, we just collapsed. The problem is, right, we know what Darren Moore's like. He's very rigid. He goes for a goal. We'd have got a draw if Darren Moore was there. But they took the shackles off, and they just attacked us, and we weren't expecting that. Well, I think that surprised us. That was one of the... We've been used to a Darren Moore Huddersfield. We expected it to be a little bit more cagey, but they'd let the shackles off, and they'd just gone for it. Think about when Wednesday did that last season against the likes of Peterborough, when Darren Moore actually did the un-Darren Moore thing.
Yeah.
When he did the thing that wasn't very Darren Moore, he just said, let's lump it forward, everything's an attack. That's what Huddersfield did. They'd let the, they'd open the doors and the goals were coming. That's a terrible analogy.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. I actually, if I'm looking at it from a perspective, I don't think Huddersfield is still good enough to stay up. I think QPR could leap them now, and it'll be us, Huddersfield, and Rotherham that go down.
Yeah.
8 points off safety at this point is atrocious.
Yeah, I agree.
And I can't see it changing under this regime. And we've never really been Chansiri outers, but we've all lost faith in the current ownership structure.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody on this podcast, everybody I've spoken to in the Wednesday fan base says there needs to be a change. And I've always been like, there needs to be accountability. There needs to be... We don't just moan for moaning's sake here.
No.
I know some fans moan for moaning's sake, but I'm very disenfranchised with what my club is becoming, because when Chansiri came in, we were a mid-table championship side that were pretty, just a pretty solid championship side.
We're just happy to be there, basically.
We were on the up a little bit, actually. Stuart Gray had got us playing some all right football, so it was in an all right position. And now we are worse than that. Has it ever happened? Because I can't remember it happening, where we've gone straight back down. I don't think it's ever happened.
It could have possibly happened well before our time as Wednesday fans. It could have decades and decades ago.
But since I don't think in
modern
my
history,
time as
I
a
don't think
Wednesday
it
fan.
has.
Yeah. But it's obviously looking to go that way. And I think he just needs to cut his losses and sell. And the problem I've got is I just feel like he wants to cling to the club to the point of, I think it'll get nasty before he would relinquish the club. And that's what worries me. And that's why I've not been prodding the bear.
Yeah.
Because I think if you prod the situation and we end up in admin and we end up all these situations, because that's where it could go. We've seen actually in signs from him that it could get nasty with this stuff in summer. And I am really concerned about it. For what it's worth, I always try and offer the perspective of how would you fix it. I think obviously you leave, and I think it's you sell the club. I think that's what we need, and that should happen. But because he's not going to do that, you appoint a CEO, you leave, the CEO does it all, you become the custodian, you put the money in, you build a team around Danny Rule, because actually I don't think Danny Rule will walk. I think he's more likely to get sacked, actually.
Yeah, I think so. In fact,
I was thinking
that's
this the
what
other
Milan
day.
Mandaric did. Yes, Milan Mandaric was the chairman, but he appointed Howard Wilkinson to run the day-to-day operations for quite a long time. And other chairmen have done it before, and it's worked. It was working. But no, but I agree. I don't think Danny Rule's going to walk. I mean, he's even said himself in post-match conferences that he's going to fight for as long as he's the manager. And I know a lot
of people are worried about that statement. Because it was quite
worrying. It was quite worrying if he's saying that like, is that on his mind that he's going to get the chop or something? It's like you said. I just don't think that the current ownership structure will budge remotely, because it's a pride thing as well. Don't forget the whole act of owning a football club is in itself a sort of statement of ego, isn't it? Like, you've got to have a pretty large sense of self to go like, yes, I'm going to own a football club, and to then sort of go, oh, I've just got to cut my losses and leave. And sell up to somebody probably not probably like the wholesale price, if you like. It's a real big wound to the ego in that scenario, and with the behaviours of the ownership structure in the past, I really can't see that being something that happens. I think it's like you say, it'll get really nasty, and it could be a situation like Reading are in right now, or that like Bury were in, or that Scunthorpe were in, before we actually get a change of ownership, which is the thing that is needed. And
I'm tired of it, mate. Like, because I've been saying this for years, and mainly over the past couple, we don't have too many rolls of the dice left.
Yeah.
It's a case of we've managed to hang on by the skin of our teeth to the fact that we could still retain the size of club and this club's history. And but it's at a point where things will start to get dismantled on a massive scale if we keep getting relegated from the Championship. Because it could be free fall. And
just look at Bradford City, perfect example. They were for a very long time in the old Division 1 and whatnot, and they just went into free fall and have fallen into obscurity, and everyone's forgotten that they were actually for quite a long time in the top flight of English football. And you wouldn't look. This is no disrespect to Bradford, of course, but like the modern day football fan would not go, "Oh yes, Bradford City. They used to be all the time in the top division." To most football fans of the current generation, they're a League 2 team. They're a League 1, League 2 team, and that's it.
But it's also a case of like the disrespect that's already happening with us is the fact that you've got United in the Prem, and they just get called Sheffield. And they get called Sheffield by people who are in the English football media.
Yep.
And it's like, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we are in the situation that we're in. And I'm sorry, the book has to stop with Chansiri. It's his decisions that has put us in this situation.
Yes.
Because we are 8 points behind, right? Which is this guy, 11, 12 games, whatever he had? Say Danny Rule wins 3 of those games, we're not in the relegation zone.
Yep. Xisco should have been sacked after the Leeds game. You know, the draw at Leeds.
Xisco shouldn't have been appointed.
No, it should have been Danny from day dot. But I think the reason why Xisco got the job over Danny was probably because he had the one promotion on his CV from Watford, even though all of those players were not his players. They were the previous players that had stayed from their relegation from the Prem. So, of course, they were going to go up again. And two, I think Xisco promised to do it on the cheap. And Danny has said, knowing Danny, in a big like detailed plan, we need to spend this much on these all areas. And it looked like a really big job. And Xisco's been like, yeah, I can do that. I can just carry on the cheap, free transfers. Yeah, no problem. And that's the option that they went with because it was the cheap option.
He said that he's paying. He said, "Oh, I'm paying Xisco more than Darren Moore. It's not the cheap option." And I'm like, well, we're talking about sort of a club philosophy here. The problem is, right? We have got everything set up to be a Red Bull style football club.
Yeah.
Right. Just sell us. I'm done with it now because we're not staying up. And right, it's one of those things, Jack. If we're at the end of the season we've managed to stay up, I can look back and go, "Oh, what an idiot!" Well, I won't be what an idiot actually. I'll be like, "Well, it didn't look like it at the time."
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be in this situation. We shouldn't be and it's not just throwing all the toys about the pram because we've lost 4-0 to Huddersfield. It's the fact that we've had a woeful transfer window. The manager hasn't been backed. I've been saying since Danny Rule was appointed, I think we'll be fine actually if we can get to January. I did the whole thing. Let's have a look at how many points we need from these games. And I think Danny came with like 2 points shy of that, actually. And I was like, actually, that's still not too far off. It's January now. He can be backed. And he has not been backed.
Nope.
So there's no... It's a case of, I think what we've done is...
But like,
the loans that don't improve it as well. I think a lot of people think like, oh, we brought Ugbo in and stuff like that. They're going to be here next season and stuff. They're not, right? A lot of our team aren't going to be here next season, which is probably a good thing, but it's also a case if you've then got that rebuild situation. And like keeping Lee Gregory here to not be played... To probably not even be registered, you know. He's going to obviously be... I haven't seen the registration yet, but it just... I'm tired of it, mate. And
well, it's funny. There's actually a lot of rumors out there, and whether they're true or not, I don't know. But there's a lot of rumors, and again, this is speculation. Don't treat this as gospel. But there's a lot of rumors out there that Gregory was all set to go. The deal was in place. And then, yet again, in typical Chancery fashion, the goalposts were moved at the last minute. Oh, I actually want this amount now. Not this amount that we've already agreed on for a long period of time. I want this much now. And Derby have said, you can sod off. Because we'd agreed this much. And we'd shaken on it or whatever. And if that is the sort of negotiation that is continually happening again, then I'm not surprised that we've missed out on players that we could have had that would have actually improved the situation. Like, who would want to deal with somebody like that?
Michael Smith, actually, as well. Pivot into Michael Smith from Gregory.
Yeah, of course,
I think he is our cheap... This is the worst thing looking forward. He is our cheap option to get back up next season, and Chancery's thought about that, which is why he was whacking the fee on him.
Yes.
That's plan B. So don't think we're going to do this rebuild. The plan B is Michael Smith.
The plan B is we've already got a squad that's been promoted once from League One. They can do it again, even though they're past 30 years old.
I do actually think this squad could get back up, but I don't know if this play style will work as well in League One. Because if you think about... I actually think you take Bannon, you take Palmer, you take Iwekwe. We won't have Bernard. Bernard will be off, so you need a partner. But maybe Bambo won't be as punished in League One. You'd think. You look at your fullbacks. We need it. Maybe Famio.
Iorfa can be Iorfa.
Yeah, I mean, and then Iorfa. That's if. But then again, he's out of contract in the summer.
I wonder if his injury record is going to cause him to not be renewed
Yeah,
because he's had a bit of an injury record the last couple of years.
I think we need to. We're going to talk about contracts now. Actually, we're going to go into the news. But I think we put a contract on for Barry now. I don't care what league we're in. Just get Barry signed for next season. Again,
give
show
him
that
a player coach role, even he's doing his coaching badges. Give him a player coach.
Show that captain's commitment again that he's going to be here no matter what happens. Because for me, he's still easily our best player, and
he was running the show against Watford. I'm sorry, but he was he was bossing it. Totally.
But it's not like he was running it in terms of everything had to go through him. He was actually in a deeper position where he was being effective.
Exactly. And
that's the side of him that we really want to see. So for me, I know he's 35, is he, or whatever. He's 34 or whatever.
I think it's 34.
He obviously. There's a lot more games in League One, but we might as well just give him the contract. I think he'll retire in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I do.
I reckon we give him a contract. We keep him on that year rolling now.
Yeah.
But I think we give him a year with an option or a clause in there that says if we get promoted, you get another year, because I don't think it's fair for him to get us back up to League One and then get. No. I actually think that we should show loyalty to the player in that regard. So I agree. You've got a clause in the contract that if we get promoted, you get another year.
Yeah.
But. This is from Football League World, who are quoting the Star again, but we've got the Football League World article that we're going to read from here. Sheffield Wednesday Star set for fresh contract talks. Sheffield Wednesday are set to hold contract talks with Josh Windass in the coming weeks, according to a report from the Sheffield Star. The attacker, who can operate in an advanced midfield role and as a striker, has been an important player for the Owls during his time at Hillsborough, despite injury issues in recent years, registering 4 goals and 2 assists in 22 competitive appearances this term. That isn't a bad record for a player who has needed to adapt to Championship football again after spending 2 years in League One, end quote. So there's a bit more in the article there, but we won't read the whole thing. So Windass, new contract. I think whatever league we're in, Windass is a good player. I think he's more likely to become more of a squad player in time going forward. We'd want that. I feel like he's lost a yard of pace.
I do.
But I still think he's a very good player.
Sorry, Josh.
And that's not a criticism. That's not me being overly critical of him. I feel like sometimes some of his runs they're not as blistering as they used to be.
I feel like some of the runs sometimes, like some of the balls that are played to him, the Josh Windass that we had under Gary Monk about 3 or 4 years ago would have been. It really has been that long ago as well. Now, Jesus, he would have got on the end of them, But I feel like now he's just behind where he used to be able to get to, and yeah.
But
it's an interesting one.
It's one of those things. If he doesn't want to stick around and he wants to do another challenge, I also won't begrudge him of that. He's a player that I'll always hold in a good regard.
Oh yeah,
which is nice to say. He's someone that I think I'd happily have him in the squad. I actually want us to build around this youth core and not dismantle it. That's the one positive about our squad at the minute. The worrying thing for me is people coming in and poaching talent, and I actually think it would be better. I actually think if we got relegated, the best thing that these young players like Gassama, Masaba, what they do is they stick around and they are part of a project.
Yeah.
I just think of like a front three of like Gassama, Kadamarkri, and Musaba in the... in League One.
That'd be frightening. That's actually the thought in League One is actually quite frightening, in my opinion. Yeah, that's quite a lethal trio, I think. But they have to be able to. They have to stick around.
The thing is, if they have got contracts, the one thing about Chansiri is he won't let them go.
No, exactly. He won't even bloody sell them. If they're sellable assets, he won't bloody sell them, will he? No. And that's actually a point I was going to make about Josh Windass. If we do go down and he does sign another deal, then he's a sellable asset because he's a surefire sort of option, isn't he, for a lot of other teams. Now, I guess in the lower mid table who want to stop up, he could be a viable option for them. But again, we know what the club is like with not selling players unless the player literally chases them down in Sheffield city centre. Chases the owner down and basically argues the toss and forces a move to be made. Because that's what happened with Lucas Yao. Allegedly.
Yeah, so
allegedly.
Windass is 30 now, so he's coming to the point where he will want to make a decision about... There's obviously always talks of... Is it Argentina or something, a club we're interested in him from? And there's been talks of the MLS. Oh, yeah. So it's a case of... He's either the thing is with Josh Windass, I think he'll want to be the big player and in the starting lineup all the time, or he might move on. So it'd be interesting to see how that one develops. But for me, the only way you kind of salvage this, right, and it won't happen because they won't do it, but you can't even salvage it, right? But because it looks like where we're heading, you say you're backing the manager, you sign Deshaun Bernard. You know, you say whatever happens, we've got him as a contracted player next season.
Yep.
And you do that, and you do that. So those two things for me, like you back the manager, you sign, you realize that actually we got some good quality that we're going to have in the Championship next season, the League One next season, because we can't do it like we did before. I actually think, let's have a look at how League One's shaping up now, because I've not really been keeping an eye on it. Because we obviously came third, but we should have topped that league. We should have topped that league in normal League One circumstances. Because we got
Portsmouth are currently sat in top at 63 points.
And how many games is there in League One? I forget. Is it 40?
48.
Is it 48? I thought it was 46.
Not including the playoffs, because there's 24 teams. So it's got to be 48, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it works, right? I'm not talking out my backside. Like that is how it works, right?
It might be a case of, no, there's 46, mate, because you can't play yourself.
46. Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah,
I thought it was 46.
Yeah, 46.
So it's a case of we got, was it 98 points we finished?
In the comments, by the way, that's going to be fun.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it,
for my
mate.
life.
I do it all the time. 20. We finished on 98 points, right?
Yes.
Was that last season? Yeah.
Yep.
So, in any other history, that would send us up automatics.
Yeah.
If Portsmouth win all of their next games, all of them, they will win the league on 93 points.
So basically, that was an unbelievably fluke.
Oh, actually,
season
I'm lying. I'm lying. I'm doing maths wrong now.
Oh.
No,
15.
they would end up. How many games is it? It's because everybody. Why is there so many games in hand in this league?
They'd be on 108 points.
Yes, 108 points.
Mistaken.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, they would. Yeah.
Yes. Which is still not. I believe, which is still not as many as Plymouth got. It was Plymouth that won the league outright.
We got 96 points, not 98.
96,
no,
yeah.
Plymouth got 101.
101, right.
Ipswich got 98.
Right.
So, yes, if they won all that, but they're not going to win all of their games,
No.
Portsmouth. They're not going to do that, right? So, Derby are in a similar situation. If they won all of their games, I think they'd be on 105. But again, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a case of you would imagine that the promotion's going to be 90 points.
Yes. 90 plus, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. In League One. And you'd think that the squad that we had would go down to that. But it's going to be... It's not going to be fun. No. I was genuinely talking to Jake about potentially making the podcast every 2 weeks for a while, and then me putting something in the stopgap, because it's the way I felt on Saturday. It started just battering any sense of enjoyment around football. I feel better today, but it's still one thing that I'm still like, it's not fun, and it's not a case of why would you give up if you only want to support the team when they're winning. This podcast has always been a misery podcast. We've had a couple of good weeks. A couple of good weeks, literally. Jack, in a minute, I'm going to wake up and we're going to be in that bloody hotel room in Wembley, and you're going to be snoring like a bloody foghorn, and none of this happened.
Yeah.
I could have.
And you're almost going to be. You could have smothered me with a pillow. Yeah.
I could have. Yeah. I was there editing the vlog until like 2 a.m. and then I was like, right, I need to get some sleep because I'm driving us back tomorrow morning. And he was in his bed, just making so much noise. I'm like, dude, just breathe. Just breathe.
Yeah. Oh boy. But this is it. Have you noticed the enjoyment that a lot of Wednesday fans are getting from football and following the team at the moment are what if scenarios? What if Chansiri sells us to Red Bull or somebody else that has the club's best interest at heart? Or what if we're just going to wake up and, it's back at Wembley? Oh, do you remember this great time last season? Oh, do you remember this great time when we were at the playoffs against Hull? Oh, do you remember this? Do you remember that? None of the positive feeling is coming from the now, other than about the manager, and that's it. And the what-if scenario of what is the manager going to do? What could the manager do going forwards in the long term? That's the hype, is like, imagine what Danny's going to be able to do with this, and this on the condition that he is backed. But is he going to get properly backed? We have no idea. So that's I guess.
See, I could even sort of try and give like Chansiri some sort of things. I can see why you'd get rid of Darren Moore in certain situations, and Darren Moore's obviously shown at Huddersfield he couldn't go in and do a squad, but we had momentum with Darren Moore. That was the one thing.
Exactly.
But it's also a case of if he did that, he needed to get it right, and he didn't get it right.
Yes.
You can't make these mistakes at this level. It just feels like it's just abysmal, isn't it? Apparently, it's going to be reviewed.
Do we have millions of pounds in our bank accounts? Have we ever owned a football club? No, is the answer to both of those questions. And because of that, our opinions mean absolutely nothing.
What have you ever done for your football club, Jack?
That's the reality. What have you ever done for your football club? All you do, you say that you're fans, but you just damage the club. That's all you ever do.
I will say what didn't help this January window as well is the fact that we had a couple of blatant racists in our fan base.
Yeah, I know.
That tarnished our entire fan base and didn't realise how they would make us look because they don't care because they're just that way and they've got backwards ways of thinking. But instead it ended up tarring us all. So you look on social media and I wouldn't have wanted to sign for Wednesday this window after that. But that's not the be-all and end-all of it. The be-all and end-all of it, there was a long transfer window before that and nothing really happened. Apparently, and that's what's going to end up being reviewed. So this is from the Star. Yes. Sheffield Wednesday to hold review into January transfer performance, look to new transfer plans. The Owls were able to bring in 4 players in the month, with Christian Pedersen and Ian Pervader joining the earlier editions of James Beadle and Ike Ugbo on deadline day. 4 players, John Buckley, Tyreek Backinson, Devis Vasquez and George Byers, hit the exit. Wednesday boss Danny Rule suggested in last week's press conference that the club would look to the free agent market to remedy any shortcomings, with their front line believed to be an area they'd look to strengthen. He was in no mood to discuss whether any progress had been made on that front when speaking to reporters after Saturday's defeat to Huddersfield Town. He'd mentioned during January that he would seek to hold a review of how things had gone in the window. He and his coaching staff are new to the club as his recruitment chief, Kevin Beadle. There are also understood to have been a turnover in responsibilities and in some cases personnel in the analytics and scouting department. For good and bad, there will be things to learn, he said. That they will be able to take into the summer transfer window. They'll begin preparing immediately. We will do this in the next week, he told the Star when asked about his plans for a review. Quote, for the future, we have to take things from this transfer window and take a step forward and prepare for the next one. The next one is the most important one. We always know this. There is a big difference between the January window and the summer window. The summer window is over a long period of time, and to go forward, we must start next week to start for the summer window. This is our job, and I think there are things we can take and go forward, end quote. So at least he's talking about summer. Yes, summer is the biggest rebuild window. That's why I was so furious, because you missed the window with this manager. A Danny Rule side, right, it might not have been pulling up any trees, but it would not be in the situation where we are now. We've got players that just don't fit. You know, we've wasted time on players. And in summer, he could have probably taken some chances on his contacts. He's got contacts clearly in Germany and in the German structure. We could have actually brought in some press-ready players that thought, oh, yeah, I've worked with Danny before. He's his first managerial job. I'd take a season-long loan there from a Bundesliga side, lower Bundesliga, or Bundesliga 2, whatever. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's a different situation. Instead, we went for Xisco's signings from people he'd worked with and people he liked, and they just haven't really worked. You know, the two signings that actually have been more the recruitment team, I'd say, rather than Xisco. And this is where I will give props to whoever was scouting them at the time. Masaba and Gassama, there's clearly players there. But the problem is they are, in a relegation battle, you've got players that will get you off your seat, right? But if Masaba can give the ball away as well, and I don't want him to ever be afraid of that, right? If we concede, we concede, because you kill a player's confidence, and that's just what happens. And I'm glad he has that. But it also does have the other thing when you can't defend. If he gives the ball away, we're in trouble.
Yeah. And that's actually kind of what happened against Huddersfield, as we saw.
Yeah. I'm not even going to talk about the Beadle incident, because what was he doing?
Well, it was just rooted to the spot, wasn't he?
No, it's when he ran out.
That as well. I remember when, to be honest, do you not remember Cameron Dawson doing that the last time we were in the Championship, where he did almost the exact same thing
out, mate. I've tried to block that season out as much as I can.
It was like, what the hell was he doing? But it was just, I think it was a mistake of his youth. It was like a naive, like, oh yeah, this will probably work, because he doesn't have much experience. That was it. That was that kind of stupid decision.
It's so weird, our fan base's short-term memory, though. All of a sudden, Dawson needs to be back in, Beadle's useless.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying that. Don't worry.
You know, when Pedersen's like... it was interesting, because we're talking about Pedersen's debut as well. Like, first 10 minutes, I was like, okay, fairly solid, sort of, well built. He might be a decent unit, actually, this guy at left-back. First 10 minutes, he seemed all right, sort of thing. He's not fit.
No.
And that's the thing.
He's been on Swansea's bench all season. That's the problem.
He's had a nightmare debut because he's not fit. And that's the problem with Marvin Johnson, which we'll move to now. Apparently, Danny has said it's been a small injury. There was loads of rumours flying around Twitter that he'd refused to play after the denial of a move to Ipswich, and apparently Ipswich didn't actually offer a fee. This is all alleged. Apparently they offered just a free transfer with incentives and stuff like that, which is why Wednesday said no. It wasn't anywhere near what was reported, allegedly and apparently again. But there's talk about him throwing the toys out of the pram. I don't think personally, if he has done this, which I don't think he has, then after the fans backed him and we backed him, you can sod off, mate. However, I don't think he's done this. I think it is a slight injury, because this manager's brought him back in. You don't do that, right? Yeah. You might have a move denied you, but you don't do that when this manager brought you in out of the cold, and that was only a few months ago.
So apparently, according to this theory that has been spread solely by fans over social media, a player who was effectively spent the first half of the season in exile, who kept being professional, kept saying, oh, I'm just biding my time, waiting to see what happens, whatever, and then has instantly come back into the team and made an improvement. That same player who can maintain this really high-level professionalism through being frozen out is now throwing his toys out the pram through one little denied move to another club. Please help us figure that one out. Please. Where is the logic in that? Where is the remote semblance of logic in that theory when surely you'd move on or cancel your contract or something if you were that fed up when you were in bloody exile and not remotely getting a look in just because the manager didn't like you as a person, which is alleged. I don't get it. I really don't.
And we need him back. So hopefully this injury isn't big, and we can actually bring him back in the squad properly. We'll move on to some transfer stuff now. So the interesting one is Duncan Maguire. It looks like it's falling through because Blackburn haven't done the transfer properly, allegedly.
Oh dear. Oh no.
I was saying, can you imagine if we had a
what
competent? What an idiot
them.
I looked. I was like, what? Because they kept signing player after player after player. They brought in like John Fleck and stuff like that. I was like, what a window! Like, what a window of.
Yeah.
They've had a cash flow thing. So, but I was like, that's how you strengthen sort of thing. And I was giving them some props, and then they snatched a player from us. And it didn't happen. Do you know what? I see a lot of people, I feel really sorry for the player here. I don't give a crap because he used us. And I said this on transfer deadline day. This player is using us. And I don't like that. So
I got the impression that it was sort of like Blackburn saw that we were interested in this player, didn't want us to have him, and were like, we'll just go for him. Not because he's someone that we want and that would fit well into our system, just so that they can't have him.
I don't think that's the case. That's fair. This is an opinion. I think they tried to strengthen in his own and use the money that they reinvested, and the market's a little bit dry in January, so they tried to reinvest it in a certain way. But then we pushed them. We probably pushed them far out of the deal that they ended up paying. But it's a loan thing, and that's the thing. You could have just not activated the option, but there we go.
And it's, but I do see where you're coming from, where he's just used us to get Blackburn to budge.
Yes,
effectively, because let's face it, all of the detective work, he was in that. He 100% was in that Sheffield Marriott. 100% he was there. That was it.
The Mercure. Yeah.
All of the all of that detective work, all over X, formerly known as Twitter. I
saw it straight away because I saw the door, and I was like. And then obviously people did some more digging. I didn't, and then looked at the seating arrangement sort of thing. So I made a punt on the fact that it was the door, and then I saw like M and that lot they'd done that detective sort of work. But yeah, it's interesting to.
And then he used, the worst part was everyone thought, he's on his way to Middlewood Road because he got in a Sheffield taxi company taxi. When he left the hotel. And no, he wasn't going there. He was using that taxi to drive to Blackburn. So clearly they were like, oh yeah, it's going to be a shed load of money, but you can go off to Blackburn. And then it's just really funny after this whole saga, and it might not even happen because the paperwork wasn't done right, I think. That's the reason. Oh well.
Let's move on to players we might bring in, and I don't think this one is going to happen, but he's been linked. Fabrizio Romano linked him with us, as well as Derby. And a couple of others. Dwight Gale, 34-year-old Dwight Gale, is on the free agent market, and he could potentially be of interest to Sheffield Wednesday. What would your thoughts be on Dwight Gale?
I would have signed him at 30 if he was 30 years old. 34? I don't know. Because it just goes against the whole. I mean, I guess we're in last chance saloon now. Like, we're in desperate times and desperate measures to try and somehow cling on to championship survival. But it sort of goes against Danny's whole ethos of let's bring the squad age down. They're all the average age is too high. You know, like will he be able to do it? Will he be able to cut it still? I don't know. What do you think?
I think the Premier League ruined him. Because if you look at his trajectory, right, 2016-17, 32 appearances, 23 goals. Goes to the Prem, makes 35 appearances and only scores 6 goals because of the level step up. Then he goes on loan the next season back to the Championship, 39 appearances, 23 goals. But then he sticks around in the Prem for 3 years with Newcastle, not making appearances. And then he comes back to the Championship with Stoke, and you think, oh, that's a good move in 22-23, but he makes 35 appearances and scores 3 goals. Maybe the system didn't fit him. Apparently, his game used to rely a lot on pace and reactions, and it's not quite there anymore. This season, he's got 10 appearances, and he's obviously left on a free. We don't have anyone that can score goals, so if Danny thought he could actually bring someone in like Dwight Gale and get him to score goals and just have him stand in the box, fine.
We need someone that's clinical at finishing, clearly. I mean...
6 months, fine. He wouldn't be my first choice, but fine. He would be the most Sheffield Wednesday signing ever.
Yeah.
But I think
Sign
that's possibly why it
someone
could
now
happen.
who everybody wanted us to sign like 6 years ago. Yeah, great.
Absolutely. Let's do the EAFC thing. So he'd actually be all right. Actually, he's a 69 rated striker, 75 pace, 70 shooting, 57 passing, 71 dribbling, 28 defending, and 53 physical. His evolution paths. He's actually currently got an active evolution path that could get him up to 82 overall with 89 pace. Actually, that'd be all right. But his best one could have got him up to an 88 overall if he'd have done that. And that would have been a very nice card for you EAFC lovers out there. I'd take him if we absolutely had to because we can't hit a barn door at the minute. But I wouldn't want him coming in and, like, meaning Cadamartri hadn't got a chance. Because Cadamartri, I'd rather just put Cadamartri up front, to be honest. That's where I stand on that one. The other one, the other striker that has been linked with Wednesday is a former player, and Wednesday have always talked about former player. Why are we always linking with former players? But this one makes a little bit of sense given the manager and the fact that this guy does know where the net is and does offer that, you know, something a little bit different. I say he knows where the net is. He's not always been prolific. But Lucas Shaw. So, little history lesson for you younger Wednesday fans, because I know there's quite a few that probably grew up when were very young when he was playing for Wednesday, which makes me feel really old. But football
that makes me feel really old as well. Oh.
Yeah. He came to us in 2015, and he made 40 appearances for us in the first season, scoring 6 goals. He then went on the next season. He didn't really play for us. He made 10 appearances, scoring no goals. 2017-18, he made 30 appearances, scored 9 goals. 2018-19, he scored 30. He made 31 appearances, scored 10 goals. I never really thought we played to his strengths, to be honest, as well when he got those goals. But he's then goes to Reading. He goes on Blackburn on loan. Well, yeah. But it's very similar in his first season. Yeah. 19 appearances in 2019-20, scores 6 goals. 2021 is where he really kicked off. They played to his strengths. He was on fire. 39 appearances, 19 goals. And then the season after, 24 appearances, 10 goals. So not the most appearances there. And then in 22-23, so the season they got relegated, he still scored 7 goals. So he's now been in the Chinese Super League since 2023. He's played in 9 games and scored 3 goals. So it would be a case of getting him back to fitness. I just think he's the better option because he's 30. You bring him in on a short-term deal with an option of a year or something like that and see if he fits into this. Because I think he could probably play Danny Rulle's press a little bit better.
Yeah.
He knows where the back of the net is and he's done it at this level. So for me,
he's a better option than Dwight Gale. I think.
Yes, that's pretty much where we're at, isn't it? He's a better option than Dwight Gale. Oh, why? Why is my football club this?
Can't we just have something nice? Like, what? Oh, it's just. What can you say in these situations? Like, it's just so disheartening, isn't it? You can say it's got
to a point of desperation, hasn't it? Let's do the EFC thing because we always do it. Lucas Shaw is a 70 rated silver striker, 68 pace, 72 shooting, 61 passing, 70 dribbling, 26 defending, 65 physical. If you evoed him currently, you could get him to an 80 rated striker, but his best rating was 88, and that is a card actually.
His pace Evo
his pace is worth. Do you not play EFC?
No. Not really.
So in Ultimate Team now you can evolve cards.
Right.
So you can you can put them through challenges to increase their stats and actually make them usable. So it's actually got me into the game this year because I can actually make Wednesday players usable in Ultimate Team. So like I've got an 87 rated.
Oh, so it's like player training in the career mode.
Yeah. Kind of.
Ish.
I've got like an 87 rated Barry Bannon. I've got like an 84 Musaba with 96 pace or whatever it is, and he is ridiculous. I've used him in champs. He can because people don't expect him to be good, and I just sprint past people with him because he's so fast. The annoying thing is there's currently a glitch in the game because I could have an 84 rated Iwekwe, but there's a glitch in the game that won't let me evo him, which is doing my head in because this is called the Patrick Hu glitch, which changes a position to a central defensive midfield. It's quite annoying, but let's get back to Lucas João.
Right.
I want to see Wednesday bring in a striker, and it wouldn't be the worst option.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I know there's been talks on Twitter about a guy called Martinez as well and stuff like that, but I'm not weighing in on that one just yet until there's...
No.
Because that's just guesses and what would be fitting for Wednesday. If we start to see links on that, we will mention that. But yes, would you take him back?
On a similar deal to what you said, really. A year, maybe, or 6 months with an option of another year or something. Just, like, see how he does, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I concur with that.
I guess the incentive might be there because he's played for us before, and he knows that many people think that he never should have gone in the first place, but...
Well, it'd be a great bit of business. We'd do what we did with Jack Hunt, but even on a better thing, we'd bring in someone. We sold someone for a few million, and we're bringing them back for nothing.
For nothing.
That'd be ideal. So, looking forward to the week. We're not looking forward to it, but we play Coventry tomorrow. Do you know one thing that could actually, and I hope the lads do it tomorrow, if we lose, it's going to be miserable, but there's a chance we go to Wembley.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because of the cup.
If we beat Coventry tomorrow, which is a hard task given how crap we have been, then we are one game away from Wembley, aren't we? And we've got, is it Maidstone?
True. It's Maidstone, yeah. I thought that was really disrespectful, by the way. Did you see the reaction from the Maidstone players and stuff?
Yeah, they all want a plastic stadium, didn't they?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not going to lie. I love that stadium. I've seen gigs there, but it's still it's actually a competent stadium where you can actually get a drink. It's great.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's one of those situations where they wanted the City thing. We had it, though, when we played... Oh, my God, we're playing Giants in City. No, it's just money, though, isn't it? It's not...
Exactly.
Man City had about as much history as us, if not less. Do you know what I mean? And then they spent loads of money. They were a good club, don't get me wrong, but that could have easily been
they were
a
about
level club. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Man City, I would argue, were on the same sort of level as Coventry before... the big takeover in 2009.
I don't know enough about that to say that myself, but...
You know, over decades and decades sort of thing.
But yeah, we know Coventry have been up there as well, and Coventry will want the trip to Wembley. They've got the home advantage. I actually think we play better away at the minute.
Yeah.
So, saying that, we've just been done 4-0, so ignore me. We're going to get done. And then we play Birmingham at home on Friday.
Oh, boy.
If this is available, I might stream this in my own misery. Oh, I may... No, I won't, actually. No, I won't. I'm busy. I won't be streaming that. I'll do the Leicester game and watch us get battered there on the Tuesday instead. But yeah, until next podcast, we've got those games coming up thick and fast. Going into Coventry, I could see us getting it. I could see us going full strength and nicking a win. Birmingham is a must-win. Every game now is a must-win, and we've got Leicester after it. But Birmingham are going to be up for it. They're going to feel like they can get a result, and they probably can because it's just the way Wednesday are. They've lost their last two, but again, they were against West Brom and Leicester. They beat Stoke before that. They drew with Swansea. They lost to Leeds. We should be beating them. If we're going to stay up, we need to beat them. And that's the situation we're in right now.
Exactly.
But I am going to leave it there before we go on a rant for too long. Have you got anything to add on this week's episode of the Talking Wednesday podcast, Jack?
Effectively, we've just got to just go with whatever happens now. Like we can't do anything about it anymore. The best thing that we can possibly do if we want to affect any sort of change, and yes, I understand it's a bit of a contentious topic or whatever, but stop putting your money into the club. Protests in person don't really work when the owner doesn't really care all that much about the fans protesting in person. It's not like another club where the owner actually cared a lot about the community and the local fan base because he doesn't. I don't think he does. He's showing that the current ownership structure is showing that they don't really give a toss about the local area. They just want to look good as the owner of this shiny football club that got up at Wembley under impossible circumstances. That's what they want. And
we've ruined all that good press as well. So
exactly. And like, the best thing people can do, and it's up to them, it's up to you whether you want to or not, don't put your money in the club anymore. Don't buy shirts, don't buy tickets, don't buy season tickets, all of that stuff. That is how you protest if you want to protest. Because marching through Hillsborough Park, while it's a great show for the media, doesn't really affect the actual person on the other side of the protest very much.
Jack, I'm actually going to say I'm going to pull myself out of that and not represent the podcast either way on that protest, because do you know what?
That's my own thoughts. That's my own thoughts.
It's one of those things of like, I didn't know where I stood on the protest, but I'm actually this country. The great thing about this country is everyone should have a right to protest.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
As long as
and
things are peaceful.
I'm not saying that all the protests are wrong. I think if you want to voice that and you want to protest, go for it. But realistically, he is a businessman, and his primary concern is money. Clearly, because that's all he's talked about in the statements he's released. So hit him where it hurts in the money aspect. Don't put money in the club anymore.
The annoying thing is, though, I always want to support our club, and he's put us in a situation where I don't want to put the money in.
Yeah.
So, a bit of a sour note, but take care of yourselves, guys.
Yes.
There will be another day for Wednesday, at least. So, we will see what occurs over the next week.
The sun will still come up tomorrow, as long as Russia don't nuke us into oblivion. So there we go. So there we go. The sun will come up tomorrow. If not, an artificial sun will be coming over the horizon. Many of them will be. So there we go.
There you go. That's a cheery thought. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next episode of Talking Wednesday.
See you later.